There is a door standing in front of you right now, and for a long time you believed it was closed. You stared at it through seasons of exhaustion, heartbreak, disappointment, and silence, convincing yourself that maybe God had stepped away from you. Maybe you waited too long. Maybe you failed too many times. Maybe the mistakes you made were heavier than mercy itself. So you stayed outside the doorway carrying burdens you were never meant to carry, replaying memories that wounded you, rehearsing apologies you thought would finally make you worthy enough to enter. But the truth is this: the door was never locked. Not once. Not for a single moment. God never stood on the other side refusing to hear you. He never folded his arms in anger waiting for you to become perfect before he would let you come close. The distance you felt was never created by his rejection. It was created by fear, shame, and the lie that you had to repair yourself before heaven would welcome you home. Right now, God is asking you something simple, something deeply personal, something powerful enough to change your life if you answer honestly. He is asking, how are you really? Not the version of the answer you give people so they stop asking questions. Not the smile you wear to survive another day. Not the strong face you force in front of family, friends, or strangers while your soul quietly grows tired underneath it all. He wants the hidden answer, the real answer, the exhausted answer, the answer buried underneath all the pressure you carry every single day. Because there is something holy about honesty before God. The moment you stop pretending is often the moment healing finally begins. And maybe that is what scares you most. Not the fear of punishment, but the fear of being fully seen. Yet God already sees everything. He sees the anxiety you cannot explain. He sees the nights you lie awake replaying your failures. He sees the grief you pretend no longer hurts. He sees the anger you are ashamed to admit, the loneliness you try to outrun, and the fear that your best days are already behind you. And even after seeing all of it, he still calls you closer. Somewhere along the way, you learned to treat God like a distant authority instead of a loving father. You started believing prayer only worked for people who had their lives together. You thought heaven opened for stronger people, cleaner people, holier people. So you stood outside the doorway trying to improve yourself enough to deserve entrance. You told yourself that once you fixed your habits, controlled your emotions, defeated your weaknesses, and became spiritually stronger, then maybe God would listen. But God never asked you to come perfected. He asked you to come honest. He never said, clean yourself before you enter. He said, come to me. There is a difference. One is built on fear. The other is built on grace. And grace is the very thing your exhausted soul has been searching for all along. God is not intimidated by your brokenness. Human beings may walk away when things become messy, but God moves closer. He does not leave when you cry. He does not disappear when you fail. He does not abandon you because your faith feels weak some days. In fact, many of the moments where you felt furthest from him were the moments he was carrying you most carefully. The problem is that pain can distort your vision. Hurt can convince you that silence means abandonment. Waiting can make you believe your prayers are being ignored. But God's silence is not his absence. There were seasons where heaven seemed quiet because God was building something inside you that could not be rushed. Some prayers require growth before they require answers. Some blessings require preparation before they require arrival. And some closed doors were never punishments at all, they were protection. You have spent so much time interpreting delay as rejection. You watched certain opportunities disappear, certain relationships collapse, certain dreams fall apart, and you assumed God had forgotten you. But what if he was rescuing you from things you could not yet see clearly? What if the relationship you cried over would have destroyed your peace? What if the opportunity you begged for would have exhausted your spirit? What if the delay itself became the place where God strengthened you enough to carry the future he truly planned for your life? We often think love means giving us everything immediately, but real love sometimes says no, sometimes says wait, and sometimes closes doors that would have led us deeper into pain. God sees the entire road while you only see the moment standing directly in front of you. And still, despite all the times you doubted him, he stayed. That is the part your heart struggles to fully believe. God stayed. Through every fearful night, through every self-destructive thought, through every moment you felt ashamed of yourself, through every prayer you stopped praying because disappointment made you tired. He remained at the doorway waiting patiently, never forcing you, never humiliating you, never condemning you for struggling. That is who he is. He is not standing over your life with a record of failures in his hands. He is standing there with mercy. The voice telling you that you are too damaged to be loved is not the voice of God. The voice telling you it is too late for you is not the voice of God. The voice convincing you that your mistakes disqualified you forever is not the voice of God. God speaks differently. He speaks with compassion. He speaks with patience. He speaks with truth. And his truth says you are still wanted, still loved, still called, and still capable of becoming everything he created you to be. There are wounds inside you that you rarely speak about. Some were created by people you trusted. Some were created by your own decisions. Some came from childhood. Some came from heartbreak. Some came from betrayal. Some came from years of carrying responsibilities that slowly drained the life out of you. You learned how to function while hurting. You learned how to keep going while feeling empty. You learned how to smile while secretly wondering how much longer you could continue carrying the weight inside your chest. But God never intended for you to survive life disconnected from peace. He never intended for you to numb yourself just to make it through another day. He wants healing for you, not just survival. And healing begins when honesty replaces hiding. That is why God keeps asking you to come closer instead of running further away. Shame always pushes people into hiding. It convinces you that isolation is safer than vulnerability. It whispers that if anyone saw the real version of you, they would leave. But God already sees the real version of you and has not moved an inch. Think about that. The creator of heaven and earth knows everything about you and still chooses to remain. That alone should change the way you see yourself. Because if God has not abandoned you, then maybe you should stop abandoning yourself too. Maybe it is time to stop speaking to yourself with cruelty. Maybe it is time to stop replaying your worst moments as proof that you are beyond redemption. Maybe it is time to stop carrying guilt God already forgave. Forgiveness is not something God offers reluctantly. It flows naturally from his love. You do not have to beg for what Jesus already paid for. You do not have to live chained to old mistakes forever. And listen carefully to this because your future depends on understanding it. Not every door in your life deserves to remain open. Some doors lead backward into patterns that slowly destroy your spirit. Some doors keep you trapped in environments where your peace is constantly attacked. Some doors only reopen wounds God has been trying to heal. There are relationships built on manipulation, places built on fear, and situations designed to keep you emotionally small. God is not calling you to spend your entire life standing outside doors that only humiliate you. Sometimes obedience means walking away. Sometimes faith means refusing to return to what God already rescued you from. And sometimes the greatest miracle is finally realizing you no longer need permission to leave what keeps hurting you. The future God is preparing for you is not built on shame. It is built on peace. There is provision ahead of you. There is healing ahead of you. There are people ahead of you who will value your heart instead of taking advantage of it. There are opportunities ahead of you that will align with your purpose instead of draining your soul. There is joy ahead of you that does not disappear the moment life becomes difficult. God is already working in places you cannot yet see. Even now, while you feel uncertain, heaven is arranging things in your favor. Doors are opening quietly. Protection is happening invisibly. Strength is growing internally. And one day you will look back at this season and realize God was never ignoring you. He was preparing you. But preparation requires trust. Trust is difficult because it asks you to move before you fully understand everything. It asks you to believe healing is possible even while pain still exists. It asks you to believe your life still has purpose even after disappointment. It asks you to believe that God's promises are stronger than your fears. And fear has exhausted you long enough. Fear kept you frozen at the threshold, analyzing every weakness, replaying every failure, doubting every possibility. But God is not asking you to stand there forever. He is asking you to walk through the doorway into freedom. Freedom from shame. Freedom from constant self-condemnation. Freedom from believing your past has more authority over your future than God does. You do not need to become stronger before coming to God. Strength is something He builds inside you after you arrive. You do not need to arrive fearless. Courage grows while walking with Him. You do not need to arrive without scars. God knows how to heal wounded hearts. You simply need to come honestly. Tired if necessary. Confused if necessary. Emotional if necessary. Broken if necessary. But come honestly. Because the doorway into God's presence has never been opened by your perfection. It has always been opened by His love. And maybe that is what your soul needed to remember today. You are not disqualified. You are not forgotten. You are not abandoned. The season you are standing in is not the end of your story. God is still writing chapters you cannot yet see. The pain you survived did not destroy you. The waiting did not erase your purpose. The silence did not remove His presence. Through every season, every tear, every unanswered question, God remained near. He still remains near now. So stop standing outside the doorway believing you are unwanted. Stop treating grace like something you must earn. Stop waiting for perfection before allowing yourself to be loved. God is calling you closer exactly as you are. The door stands open. Mercy stands open. Healing stands open. Peace stands open. The future stands open. And all heaven has been waiting for is your honest answer.